Hello, good morning everybody. Just a quick video this time on some American Civil War Perry figures which I did some time ago. Not a main interest of mine, the Civil War, to be honest, but I quite enjoyed painting these. As always, the rebs are the hardest to get right, to try and make the colours seem as random as possible. I've got a few Louisiana tigers there. I'm not sure about the trousers. They're as close as I could get, but haven't got a very steady hand. Yeah, I quite enjoyed doing these. I got them from the big Perry's American Civil War box. I'm through most of them now. I've still got quite a number to do. As I say, they came out reasonably well. It was more or less my first big attempt at 28mm. You know, I'd dabbled before, but this was the first time I got into it, and I picked up a load of books, although I'm not, as I said, greatly interested in the American Civil War, but I got the bug for a little while at least, and yeah, quite enjoyed painting these. Tried to, as I say, get the random colours was the thing that I struggled most with. The Union troops, of course, no problem at all. Just bash them out in blues and dark blue and light blue. The Confederates, just trying to get that random look with a bit of butternut brown in there and a grey and you know, a little bit of everything really. Trying to get them to look a little bit natural, and yeah, enjoyed them. Enjoyed doing the cavalry. I've still got the cavalry to show you. I've only done the Union cavalry up to now. Did a general figure there, and the other thing I was going to show you was a book I have. This is 60 Years of Airfix Models by Jeremy Brooke. It's probably on Amazon now, probably a lot cheaper. It's full of all the sort of things that we loved about Airfix back in the day. You know, the wonderful, I think they called them header cards, the little bagged kits with the instructions that always used to get slightly torn up with the way they'd been stapled, and in your eagerness to try and get the kit open, I always remember I used to end up with a slightly ripped set of plans every time. Two particularly that stand out there: the Renault Dauphin, I think is how it's pronounced, down the bottom there. I made that kit and lost it a long time ago, and now I see even the plans go for just this folded up plans go for about £45 in some places. Some very early examples there of the Airfix split header card, where they used to have a fairly simple drawing and then the big red header title. Quite a nice book. There's several books. This one particularly, how it all started off with the initial, I think it was Ferguson tractor, which Airfix contracted to build, and which was sold in Woolworths as a kit. I believe it was a kit. I'm not entirely certain. You can probably correct me on that. And that's how it all started off. Examples of their first kit, commercial kit for general release: the Golden Hind, early and late examples. I always remember going into a local sort of news agents essentially, and they would have both these bagged kits and also the little blue box OH00 scale figures on a kind of tree, revolving tree, and in those days you didn't know really what you were doing, and you would pick up a set of Romans to fight a set of World War One British infantry, and it just didn't matter then. And then as time passed, you would start to at least get a certain degree of historical accuracy. A nice model of HMS Hood there, the iconic British warship of Second World War, lost early on in the war. One of the large, very large. I did the HMS Victory, I remember. I tried the rigging and everything like that. I honestly, it was. I got the kit itself looking quite good, if I say so myself, for my age at the time. I don't know, about 15 or 16. But the rigging, no, sorry. I see what some of you boys do on here, and congratulations, but my banana fingers weren't able to cope with that. The large scale historical figures, I remember getting those. Henry VIII was a classic one, which I picked up. Quite enjoyed painting that. Dennis fire engine. I believe some of these are still available now, been reissued. Certainly the old Bill bus, the London, I think, Thornycroft bus, which also comes with decals to make up into a World War One troop transporter. Early set of paratroops there with the early drawing. Very, very hard to get hold of now, very expensive. The car kits, which I used to like to do, I mean, these were all, it shows you how long ago it was, these were all current cars at the time on our roads when these kits were issued. They've been sparsely reintroduced, things like the Aston Martin and the Jaguar, but the more mundane ones, as I say, like the Renault and the Vauxhall and the Lotus Cortina, which I remember was very, very hard to track down, until I tracked it down in a closing down little model shop in Teddington, I think it was. Man retrieved the kit from a big dusty box, and in my excitement, my youthful excitement, I forgot to ask whether he had anything else in there. I just run off with my my new purchase, and yeah, again, I left that behind. These are some of the larger car kits, the good old Jaguar Alfa Romeos. They're fetching fairly high prices now on Amazon. Some of these are going at, 40 to 80 pounds. Some of Airfix's gun emplacement and assault sets, always good value. They seemed expensive at the time. When you're a boy, everything seems expensive, I suppose. And yeah, some tanks. I never got on with tanks too well. I was always a figure man, or an Airfix planes. Yeah, that's the jungle outpost there, and the desert outpost, I think, in 54mm. Quite a cracking kit, really. The Stuka kit with the man in the background, giving a sense of the awesome size of these kits, but they came with what seemed to me at the time an awesome price as well. They're 54mm soldiers, which I had a go at a couple of times, with the webbing and everything in plasticard. Dodge, I seem to remember having that. I'm pretty sure I had that, although I think that was one of, X-Max, that was one of those that Airfix bought from another company. Multi-pose figures, which again, were always very fiddly in my thinking. HMS Campbelltown, remember that. And the big Spitfire, the 24th, 1/24th scale Spitfire with engine detail. You could also buy a little electric motor to have the propeller spinning. And then we get on to something a bit more to our taste. Japanese infantry in one of the later boxes, I think 1980s by that time. And snap together kits, and the Airfix 1/32 figures. They were apparently going to be brought out as 1/72, but I think Airfix basically collapsed before they got to that point. But the 1/32 were very nice figures. So just having a sip of tea there. And Airfix guidebook. That I think Arthur Ward is the great expert on Airfix kits. Yeah, Airfix dinosaurs, never really got on with those. Yeah. Moving along a bit now, getting a bit more recent. Yeah, the historic kits, Anne Boleyn and various other historical figures. James Bond was always a popular one, I remember that. 2 large figures, James Bond and Odd Job on interlocking basis. Anyone who remembers the film with the scene with the steel brimmed hat